Welcome everybody to the United Wrestling Podcast. My name is Nick Bonato. I am the executive producer and showrunner for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and the senior official for the United Wrestling Network. My co-host this evening is the voice of Hollywood, voice of United Wrestling Network, Todd Kennelly. Todd, how you doing?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back in business here as of late. Exciting times.
Absolutely. A lot's going on, which we'll get into. But of course, our guest this evening, the baddest man in professional wrestling, Bad Dude Tito. What's happening? Good to see you, man. What's it called? Yeah, how you feeling, Tito? What's going on?
I feel great. Just been training a lot, resting my body, getting anxious, ready to wrestle. I don't think I've wrestled since March, so it's been quite a bit.
Say, what was the longest break that you had taken from wrestling before any of this happened?
So when I first started training, I was about 15, 16, and I wrestled up till I was 21, 22, and then I took a 7-year break.
So okay, that's
quite a break.
I mean, that's 7 years. I feel like at that point, it almost seems like it's like, can you still get back to it? Did that cross your mind? Is that what flipped the switch? I have to get back to wrestling.
So when I finally came back after that break, I was still really young because I had started wrestling so young.
Oh, sure, yeah,
like
early 20s.
My late 20s, mid 20s. So to me, it was no big deal. I still could do it.
For sure.
I was still really active. I was playing adult flag football, which is actually really competitive, and some semi-pro football too. So I was actually really competitive still in sports. So I knew I could do it. I was always in the gym too, so it wasn't a big deal.
Todd, how do you feel about flag football?
Hey, I think adult flag football probably could get pretty physical, and it's a great way as a kid to learn kind of some of the fundamentals. But I love it when you get the pads on and you get to get out there and bang for sure. And I would not want to be across from Tito on the line of scrimmage.
See, the thing with flag football is you're not supposed to hit, right? It's only flags, pulling flags. So all this aggression builds up, and then it gets to a tipping point where you're like, I just need to hit somebody at this point. And that's when the penalties come, and then you got to sit out for a little bit.
Yeah. Something to manage.
I wanted to ask you after watching the push the other day, have you started printing people like ass kickers T-shirts yet?
I haven't, but now that you mention it, maybe I can make some money.
Right.
Good idea.
I think it would be a good seller, and I definitely think it's a good catchphrase and mantra for someone like yourself. You talked about, why don't we dial back a little bit? You talked about starting at 15, and you also in the push talked about being somewhat of a wrestling historian. Kind of what got you hooked on wrestling as a kid, and what led you to actually take on training?
Well, I always liked wrestling. As a kid, my parents would have wrestling on Saturday mornings, even Saturday night main events we would watch, and I loved it. I loved the big characters. I loved the colors. I would look up at these guys and be like, God damn, these guys are jacked. I want to be big. I want to be bad. I want to be jacked. And then as I got older, you don't really know how to become a professional wrestler. As a kid, I thought maybe I just have to get a regular job and just be the best fighter at that job. I'll become a garbage man and be the most badass garbage man. And that's how I'll be a professional wrestler. But as I got older, you kind of smarten up, and then you just, jump on Google and try to figure out, how do I do this? How do I make my dreams come true?
It was such a shame that the badass garbage man gimmick was already taken.
But a badass man. You could be a badass pizza delivery driver. I just figured I get a job, I become the best ass kicker at that job, and then boom, I'm a professional wrestler.
So it doesn't matter if it's been done before; it hasn't been done by you.
Right.
Something one of my professors tell me a lot. It's like, okay, don't worry about it. You can still do it. So if there's I'm picturing maybe you, maybe as a tag team, maybe you and Shay could be the ass kicking, trash talking garbage men. And, you come out with the jumpsuits, you throw a garbage can into the ring and you pull it off and you're super jacked, or you pull the sleeves off. There's a look there. There's something.
Definitely.
You wouldn't have to come out and make all the noise howling. You could just make a bunch of noise at 7 in the morning in front of people's houses. Start a match.
Yeah, it's like Stomp, but it's out in the ring. Incredible. What's it called? Yeah, so we talked about a little bit. We touched on the idea that people love badasses and things like that. You mentioned in the push segment that kind of bled into other parts of your life. You've kind of always been a badass. I'm not sure if we talked about this in the video, but you do have a bit of a martial arts background. Would you talk about that a little bit?
I have about 6 years of grappling experience. Half of that in judo. I've been training the last 3 years in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Since COVID, I've been starting to train Muay Thai. So I'm starting striking. It's all coming along. It's just a journey. We'll see where it goes. We'll see what happens. But I always enjoyed grappling, and that's pretty much where I'm at right now. Just jiu-jitsu. I've been doing a lot of collegiate style wrestling lately. A lot of takedowns, and Muay Thai, getting those striking down.
Have you thought about how to kind of put that into your wrestling style as you're starting to come back with stuff?
I've utilized it a little bit here. It's kind of difficult, depending on who your opponent is. They got to know how that works. Usually, if they're trained in the jiu-jitsu, that helps a lot. But I put it in here and there. You just got to kind of catch me on a good day, and if I want to look a little cool in the ring, I might throw something out there.
And if you find yourself in another dojo match like you had at one point, your opponent's in trouble.
Yeah, especially if they're a little guy like Doug James, I just kind of take advantage of and toss him around.
I have a question for you. So you talked about your training, and then you were around in pretty early days of championship wrestling from Hollywood. Talk about kind of what led you to Hollywood. Were you training with the Santinos, or there was obviously Chaos was on Hollywood back then? Was that kind of the window to get through?
So when I took my break, when I was around 22, I came back. I was maybe like 26, 27. So maybe it was a 7-year break, but it was about 5-6 years. And when I came back in 2010, I was looking to get booked, looking for the best bookings. And at the time, Chaos was in Hollywood, and he said, here's Dave's number, show up, go help out, go talk to him, see if you could get in. And then I kind of just worked my way in that way. But at first I couldn't get a match. I was just part of a stable, but cream rises to the top. And as long as you stay in, they're always looking for superstars and make some money. So, eventually I got a match. Eventually I started teaming up with Rico, and things kind of just evolved from there.
You mentioned your wars kind of with the tribe, Los Banditos Tribe back in the day. What was it like? I'm sure that's the type of opponent that would feed your desire for that hard-hitting type of matchup when you're in there with Navajo Warrior and Hawaiian Lion. Talk about some of those encounters.
Well, I had seen them wrestle. I was there at Hollywood backstage. I was watching the monitors. I was, kept my eyes on the tag team scene because I enjoy tag team wrestling. And I saw them just beating the shit out of some dudes. It was like I'm rooting for the underdog. Like, fight back, Jesus Christ! These guys are gonna take your lunch money, And then I remember thinking to myself, like, if I get in there with them, like, they ain't gonna take my lunch money. I know that for a fact. I'm gonna fight back. So we get booked against them. We get put in a program, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, it's time to put your money where your mouth is. Get in there with some big boys, and it's time to bang, And that's pretty much just how it happened. I remember going over the match with them, and them kind of looking at us as like, oh, these guys are young, and we're the tag champs, and we're bad. And I remember thinking like, oh, they're gonna find out who we are tonight for sure. We're gonna put some respect on our name for sure. And those guys are great, man. I love working with them. I love being in the ring with them and banging with them. And we for sure earned our respect with that program with them for sure.
Right on. You mentioned the tribe kind of eating people's lunch, or especially smaller maybe opponents. I remember talking to Yuma once about what it was like working against the tribe, and I guess him and Kevin had wrestled them for almost a year straight. And he said he just got beat up every single week, and it was a very, very intense experience. No matter what he could throw at them, Hawaiian Lion and Navajo Warrior were always had way more to throw back. So
well, both those guys are like 250 plus, big fucking strong dudes. Have experience wrestling in Japan with strong style, and if you're a small guy like Yuma, the odds are you're not going to make it out of there too comfortable, you know.
Of course. Well, of course. Speaking of Yuma, we got to bring up Vermin, the the stable that you guys were in all together. I don't know at what point, because I think when I first came into Hollywood, Vermin was already well established. So that was around 2015. How long had you guys been together if you were with them at that point?
I'm not really sure. Maybe around 2014, 2015. But it was just kind of a weird thing. Like they didn't really have anything to do. Like they didn't have anything for me to do. So running through guys with squash matches, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna put you in here with Vermin." I'm like, "How does that make sense?" Like I work with these guys, but I'm not friends with these guys. Like we never been in a program together at all. It just kind of doesn't make sense to me. That don't. It's gonna be great. Like I was all right, cool. You know, I had to open the air, and I was ready. You know, get put in the main program. Like yeah, sure, no problem. Like I'll take that any day. And it all worked great. I ended up becoming really good friends with all those guys. So not only professionally did it help me, but like personally, it was great to become buddies with those guys. I still talk to them pretty much. I think I talk to you almost every day. So
right on. Same, yeah.
You know, and I think it ended up working well too, in that just kind of that natural maybe friction of, yeah, why would this make sense, or why would I be with these guys, really played into the overall story too, where you kind of, you know, felt that you were the true leader. And then on screen, there was that natural then kind of friction between you and Yuma going back and forth for the lead that then culminated in the Red Carpet Rumble, where it came down to, I believe the final four was all Vermin members.
Yeah.
And you gave the Pied Piper a little taste of his own medicine with that.
That pipe. Yuma with a little secret weapon, that pipe I had in my trunks or wherever the hell it was.
What was it? Recently on an episode of Hollywood with all of our best ofs we've been running lately, we revisited a bunch of the final segments of different Red Carpet Rumbles, and that I think was 2016. That was with the end of Vermin. And one thing I really liked about that was in a lot of Rumble type matches, they sometimes like suggest that something like that would happen, where it comes down to just the members of a group, but you've never seen it happen. So I was very intrigued when that happened. That actually did come to that way. But then also, probably my favorite part about the breakup of Vermin was that somehow the toughest, most conniving, evil group of wrestlers we had on the roster, once they split up, all of you became like super baby faces. So I'm like,
I guess that's just a testament to the fans. They like who they like, and they're gonna cheer for who they cheer. I'd like to mention out that I broke up Vermin 2 times.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You tell.
At the Red Carpet Rumble, I broke up Vermin. Bashed Yuma with the pipe. Took the 1, 2, 3, became #1 contender, and then the Vermin clones. Me and Che took them out and ended Vermin there too. So. Not once, but twice.
I don't know how that skipped over my head, considering I ref both of those matches. But sometimes I get a little wrestler brain without being a wrestler. I don't know. Todd, I guess how have you in working with Tito and Vermin and all the different people at Hollywood in that era? I guess how do you approach a match with a group like Vermin when all the guys kind of wrestle a different style?
As a commentator, I think it's great. Growing up, and Tito mentioned he's a historian. When you had teams, I always favored when you had a team like the Hart Foundation, where you had Jim the Anvil Neihart was the power, and Brett was the scientific technical wrestler. I just think that having that mix of styles made for a unique team. And I think same thing with Vermin, when you had the conniving kind of leader, the Pied Piper, Yuma, when you had, Ryan Taylor, Russ now Taylor, kind of an overall just great wrestler. And then you had your enforcer in Tito. And I think just having that variety really made it a unique and more dangerous and more appealing, group. And then it was proof that individually, sometimes you take a faction like this and the sum of the parts is greater than the individuals. But with you guys, you were all able to find success, and leaving Vermin at that point by winning the Red Carpet Rumble really skyrocketed you up into main programs and title programs on Hollywood. The whole war with The Office and with Peter Avalon. So why don't we talk about that? You talked about that no ropes matchup.
Yeah.
Right. It was part of that whole feud with The Office, and eventually beating Peter in record time to win the Heritage title.
Yeah, it was about 30 seconds, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun, man. I always like working with Pete. He has great ideas. I've worked with Pete probably about 24 times, maybe, in tag matches and singles matches. All Los Banditos, one of our feuds on the Indies was PP Ray, and we wrestled them all over. Every I almost said the F word, my bad.
It happens.
Every indie fed would book us against each other. It got to the point where we wouldn't even call a match. We just go out there and improv everything. We get to the back, and vets would be like, "Oh, that was such a great match," and we're like, "Yeah, we just called it out there." And that was probably one of my favorite memories, working those guys. But working with The Office was great. Working with Nico, working with P, it was always fun. I always like me versus the world type of thing,
So speaking of the big titles and pictures like that, you also mentioned in the video that how important it was to you to wrestle for the NWA World Championship. How was it wrestling Nick Aldis going into that day? What was your mindset? But everything that led up to that as a historian of wrestling yourself.
I was a little nervous. Like whenever you wrestle a big match like that, I usually get a little nervous just because I put a lot of pressure on myself. I want to be able to have a good match for me, for my opponent. For the NWA title, I know a lot of eyes were going to be on that. So to me, I just wanted to go out there, show what I could do, have a really great match, have something I could be proud of, have something he could be proud of, and I think we accomplished that. Put a little bit of everything in there, a little bit of power, a little bit of high flying, a lot of psychology, and he was really happy with it. I was really happy with it. And it was one of my proudest moments, I think, in the ring.
Yeah, and it's timely. That match was recently re-released as part of Heritage Hall, and I think it's a perfect example of the type of thing that we're going to see coming up on Primetime Live. The NWA, their champions, their talent are going to be involved, taking on some of the best in the United Wrestling Network. So a matchup like that with you and Aldis really helped kind of set the stage, I think, and open the door for this to happen. Because those matches were high quality and big matches. And our talent delivered, their talent delivered, everybody delivered.
Yeah, totally agree.
A couple other things, some talents being announced now for Primetime Live. Thunder Rosa is going to be coming in, the NWA World's Women's Champion. And then EJ Sparks is going to wrestle Hammerstone for the West Coast Pro Wrestling Championship. Hammerstone's somebody that you faced in his kind of short stint with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Now he'll be back in the mix. A little bit something about him and your time facing him.
I've wrestled Hammerstone a bunch in like 3 different states. I wrestled him indies in SoCal, indies in Vegas, indies in Arizona. I think our style matches a lot. We're both big guys. We both are very agile. We could move, we could go. So you're not going to get just some big body guy kind of like slow paced match. We're going to fucking go, We're going to bang. And I know I like wrestling him. He's always told me he likes wrestling me. And I like Hammy. What's up? Shout out to Hammy. What's up, man? Can't wait to see you. I know me and Che were just talking about getting to see him again because it's been a little while.
Right on. You bring up Che. You mentioned earlier before how about working with Rico for so long. How was the transition to working with Che, and how did you guys come together as a team?
I met Che at Santino Brothers Dojo, and he walked in as a student, and right away you see him. He's a big guy. He's got great physique, and I was thinking like, oh fuck, like I'm gonna have to up my game, you know, like I can't let this guy shine, you know, I gotta shine too. So we became friends that way, just drilling, training, and little by little, we got to know each other, and Che's like a brother to me right now. I talk to him. He's another guy I talk to every day. Not just a tag partner, you know, I consider him a really good friend. But at the time, it was like me and Rico would tag together, and then Che and Rico would tag together, and then I would tag with Che, and then maybe we'd get all three of us in a trio. So it was like super like Freebird style rules. So all over the SoCal, we would do that. And so it was easy. It's like the moves me and Che would do would be the moves me and Rico would do. And the moves me and Rico would do would be the same moves Che and Rico would do. So it was kind of just easy. It all meshed really well. I was working with those guys. It's so fun, especially when we're in trios and we could go out there and have a good time, have some fun. Just go out there and kill it.
So was this long hair Che? Was it shaved head Che? Was it stout Che? Which Che was this? He's had a couple of looks throughout the years.
You know what? He's going to have another new look September 15th at that pay-per-view.
I'm going to have to check that out.
I don't like it as much. But go back to the Mohawk, but he's not listening. Long-haired Che, as soon as he got into wrestling and started growing out his hair, he had really nice hair. I don't know why he cut it. I think he just got bothered with it. But that's what happens. I've been at that stage, too, especially during quarantine where I just want to fucking cut this mop off, man. And I just kind of bleached it.
I was wondering, because your hair looked a little bit lighter than I remembered. I wasn't sure if it was the sun or if I've just always seen it wet.
We were out partying in Arizona, and I was kind of bored. I said, you know what? Let's get some highlighter. Let's color this hair up. Let's put some streaks in it.
Got a bit of an Aquaman thing in there.
So much, and you know what? I don't mind. I don't mind it.
I gotta, you know, because that early footage with Los Banditos, you know, the hair was pretty short. You got pretty regal looking mane going now.
Yeah, earlier now.
I wanted to ask, you know, if I could go back to the tribe for a minute. I might be wrong, but I think I'm right here. I think at one point, and nobody had really messed with the tribe before Los Banditos. And they had held the United Tag Team titles, then the Heritage Tag Team titles. I think it was over 500 days. I believe Los Banditos at one point absconded with said tag team titles and melted them down into chains. Is that something that rings a bell?
Yeah. That was just, you know, one of the storylines in the program that, you know, we steal the belts, we melt them down, we get some cool little chains. You know, just something to keep the program going, keep the storyline progressing. But yeah, that was fun. I always like working with them. I'm looking forward to the future because I'm pretty sure our paths are going to cross again. But this time I'll have Che in my corner.
I'm going to go to the comments here for a second. Chris Doss says, Tito looks like a wolf now. Yeah.
I get Scar. My daughter thinks I look like Scar from Lion King.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's it. I know this was a question that was asked in the room when we did the interview. I'm not sure if it made it into the video. But for people who don't know, like, what is a zaddy?
It's like an Instagram hashtag. It's like daddy, like, oh, daddy choke me. Oh, yes, daddy. It's just a little more swagger. You put a Z in front. Now we're zaddies, and it's super hip, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of older. This is what they tell me. Che's from the younger generation. He tells me it's cool. If he thinks it's cool, we go with that. It
really seems like Che is the trendsetter, since you said before the moves that you do with him, he also does with Rico. Hopefully that's Che trying to make everything the same, as much as not so much him just not remembering things. But that's if Che has got his finger on the pulse or somewhat, that's in order to keep the team moving forward. I'm looking forward to see what else Che Cabrera can bring to the table.
Oh, Che brings a lot, man. I get messages from him daily. Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about that? And I'm like, bro, that's a crazy bump for me to take. If you want that bump, Be my guest, Jay. You could do that. But if you want me to take it, maybe we should switch it up and do a little different. But we got our minds are constantly working. We got some things up our sleeves. September 15th. Hopefully, we get to pull some of it out.
Yeah. And I was busting on Che a little bit here, but I think that he looks phenomenal too. So I'm sure in during shutdown he's doing even more than he was doing before. When he came back to Hollywood last year or the year before, completely different Che, super, complete V look, and just the way that he's built, and completely overhauled everything. I've never seen him in any kind of fantastic shape like that before. So
Che looks great. I really don't like standing next to him because it makes me look really bad. And I don't think I look that bad. But
right.
Him, I look like some jabroni off the street, maybe some kind of garbage man, He always looks great. He motivates me a lot. Whenever I don't feel like doing something, I'll message him and be like, bro, please motivate me. He'll fucking send me a few messages. All right, well, time to put on the shoes and hit the gym or whatever I plan on doing that day, So shout out to Che. What's up? Putting you over big, buddy.
Right on.
Have you, during this quarantine, obviously you and Che have been in the gym. Have you gotten any ring time?
Most of I haven't got any wrestling ring time. I've been training a lot in jiu-jitsu. I've been training about 4 times a week. I've been doing about 2 times a week some Muay Thai, and about once a week at just collegiate style takedowns, a lot of single legs, double legs, stuff like that, ankle picks. So that's about it. I'm hopefully want to get into the ring maybe coming up before the 15th, that's for sure, just to brush some stuff up. But I'm staying pretty fucking active, to be honest, man. I actually have to force myself to stay home and get some rest and recoup.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that you've been active, but you have been able to rest. Going into September 15th, United Wrestling Network Primetime Live, featuring the United Wrestling Network and the National Wrestling Alliance. So as we're kind of winding down here in the next couple of minutes, a question for the both of you: What do you expect to bring to the pay-per-views in a live environment versus live to tape? Or how are you going to take advantage of being on pay-per-view, being live?
For me, I'm just going to come out and do what I always do. Come in, bash some brains, give the fans a nice little treat, hopefully gain some new fans, especially the ones who haven't seen me before. And I'm just going to do what I always do and come out and bang. And I'm ready for war. So we'll see what happens on September 15th.
Right on. So what you got?
I'm so excited. It's just there's a whole nother energy and almost that little bit of danger when you're live, that anything can happen mentality. You never know who's going to show up on Primetime Live. David Marquez, United Wrestling Network president, said it's an open door. We know you're going to see people from the NWA and United, but now Mike Bennett issuing a challenge to Nick Aldis for the NWA World's Heavyweight title. So I'm excited. I can't wait to call it. I'm just going to love the energy of being there live, and I can't wait to tell some stories, and it's going to be fun.
Right on. Well, I can't wait to check that out. I'll be there as well with the 2 of you. And for anyone watching at home, you can catch it on Fight. It is on demand and on other pay-per-view providers as well. So go to UnitedWrestlingTV.com for more information. So Tito, before we head out, where can we catch you online? What's your social media?
Mostly a lot on Instagram, Bad Dude Tito, Twitter, so much, but same ats there, Bad Dude Tito, and that's pretty much it. Mostly stick to Twitter. I'm sorry, Instagram, not so much Twitter, but I go on there time to time, see what's going on.
Yeah. TK.
Twitter at Todd Kennelly, Instagram at T Kennelly, on Facebook as well, and I always try and get back to you, so hit me up.
Right on. Well, I am at Nicholas Bonanno, but make sure to follow at United Wrestling on Twitter, at United Wrestling Network on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And once again, thanks everyone for joining us tonight.